Then, of course, we have habitat conservation. Not only the species conservation, but the habitat species conservation. And since the main nesting beach in Carriacou is a wetland area with the most developed mangroves in the Grenadines.
Here we found there's a lot to do, in particular Carriacou. And why here? This is one of the remaining small enclaves of mangrove forest, which is very good quality. It's a great ecosystem. In between coral sand, there's a reef, not in very good shape, but it's there. There is mud, there is the rainfall filling the flats. So this formed in hundreds of thousands of years, and now it has a very important function for the north of the island and for the lagoon of the eastern side of Carriacou.
We know that also hawksbills like to nest among the mangroves area, so it's a habitat for nesting turtles. Green turtles trim the seagrass beds to keep a good shelter for other creatures. It's a bit like mangroves. Just when there is big waves come, seagrass bed just function as a barrier. And also mangroves are important because they filter the sediments from the land to the water. They keep the reefs and coastal area clean, and at the same time they protect the coastline. So that's the importance of restore the mangrove, not only a habitat restoration for turtles, but also for humans and for the land.
The resilience of the red mangroves should actually really help this whole north of the island from coastal destruction, which is obvious all the way in the south. No mangroves, no corals. It's just gone. The mud flows through here, but it's overly rich. When it reaches the water, it chokes the corals. So the mud is stopped coming from the mountain and from the hills, and at the same time, the sea cannot really pass because the mangroves actually retain the soil and the sand so much, so well, that they diminish and break up the strength of the forthcoming seas. What type of mangroves do we plant? There are three major types. The red, which could also grow in salt water. The black, slightly higher up the berm, which can tolerate salt quite a bit, but would not want to be completely exposed to the rough seas. And then you have the white, which is slightly higher, maybe at least 2 feet higher than water level, which you find closer to the hills. All of these form the bulk of an ecosystem based on trees that somehow live very close to an uneasy habitat, the sea. There's a host of crabs, of different mud crabs, large and small, that love to bite the young propagules. 30% of the young trees would perish or be endangered, weakened, because of the bites that crabs inflict on them. One could say, oh well, then get rid of the crabs. No, because the crabs are also helping the mangroves and everything else by all the holes that you can see. All these holes, hundreds of holes, look, everywhere. See, these holes are very important. They fill up with rainwater, with dew. This is the catchment that brings water in an anaerobic soil in the deep. That means trees can have their roots reaching where there is a source of water, fresh water. That water comes because of crabs. So all these trees have figured out their way of circumventing the big problem of how to find oxygen, how to find fresh water, how to get rid of the salt that is in excess when they imbibe whatever water there is. How do we handle this then? Here it is. We get some bamboo, about 5 or more inches across. This is used bamboo. So it is old bamboo. We cut the segments. We put it in the soil where the propagule, you can see 1, 2. So what do? We encase them to protect them from the crabs' attacks. Does that work? Well, apparently yes. It has been a successful experiment. Why use bamboo? We used PVC, but that's plastic. Let's bring in plastic in a natural environment. Well, bamboo grows by the thousands, and of course, before they die, they become this. You see, we place it in. If you see inside, there's already water. Then we cover it, we fill it properly that it's not moved, and this also protects it from cows and cattle. Then we have the propagule, with roots. We fill it with pro-mix soil. This is to enhance the growth.
Just short of 4 hours, we've planted about 100 mangroves in these bamboo shoots. There's still about 200 mangroves to be planted and another half of our supply of bamboo coverings to still use up. But we put in a lot of work today, and we'll continue to do so while I'm still here, and Dario and Kido Foundation will continue doing their amazing work in repopulating this area so that it's no longer a mud flat and will be a nice lush mangrove forest, preventing any damage from tropical storms and storm surges.